हेलो, मेरा नाम प्रदीप बसाक है। मैं बीटेक सेकेंड ईयर का छात्र हूँ जीजेएसआरपी न्यू दिल्ली। सो आज हम क्लास 9 सीबीएसई बोर्ड पॉलिटिकल साइंस सब्जेक्ट का एसएसटी सोशल स्टडीज के अंदर जो पढ़ता है उसका चैप्टर 5 का फर्स्ट पार्ट वर्किंग कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन चैप्टर का नाम है डिस्कस करने वाले हैं। सो द फर्स्ट टॉपिक इज नीड फॉर पॉलिटिकल इंस्टीट्यूशंस। सो व्हाट इज द नीड ऑफ पॉलिटिकल इंस्टीट्यूशंस इन अ नेशन? So political institutions are basically the law and order making policies and the people who decide what is better for us and whatever policies and in whichever way they want to run the government and the nation, they do so. So basically the institutions involve meetings of committees, routines, ministers, prime ministers, presidents, etc. They all form a overall political institution of a nation. So political institutions often leads to delays and complications. Therefore, dealing with institutions can be very frustrating. Some of the delays provide an opportunity for a wider set of people to be consulted in any decision. That is why India, our nation, is a democratic nation, and that is why democratic government insists on institutions. Okay, so the institution in India is basically consists of various layers. Some of the major layers are the prime minister, then the cabinet. They take all the important decisions. Then comes the civil servants working together, all the government officials, and then they are responsible for taking steps to implement the minister's decision, whatever the prime minister and the cabinet decides. The civil servants work together and take steps to implement the decisions. The third and final institutions, we can say, chain link is Supreme Court and all the courts. That is, it is an institution which solves the disputes among the citizens and the government. And in the Supreme Court and all the courts, the governments and citizens disputes are being finally settled by following law and order. Next comes the parliament. So we all know that in India, National Assembly of Elected Representatives, which exercise powers of supreme political authority on the behalf of people, is called a parliament. At the state level, it is known as legislature or legislative assembly. Okay, so the parliament is a political body. Okay, it exercises supreme political powers, so it has the power to run and make decisions for the nation. At the state level, this is known as legislature or the legislative assembly. So the power of the parliament is to make decisions and to exercise political authority in different ways. So parliament is the final authority for making laws in any country. Parliament is all over the world. It exercises the power and control over those who run the government in various countries like India. It is directly under control fully and completely. The parliament controls all the money that the governments have. They have the power and authority to make the government use the money in a certain way for the development of people. Parliament is the highest forum of discussion and debate on public issues and national policy in any nation, especially in nations like ours, that is India. Parliament plays a huge role. So next comes the two houses of parliament. So the basic two parts of the parliament we can say is one is Rajya Sabha, that is the upper chamber, and Lok Sabha, that is the lower chamber. Rajya Sabha is basically the council of state, and Lok Sabha is basically the house of people. In a country, the parliament consists of two houses, as we discussed: Rajya Sabha, the upper chamber; Lok Sabha, the lower chamber. Okay. So the council of states and the house of people together form the parliament. The total number of elected members of Lok Sabha is 543 plus 2 reserved seats for 2 Anglo-Indian nominated members. Anglo-Indians are basically the people who are here after they cross-mated with Indians, the Britishers, and the Indians together made babies. Such people of the caste are known as Anglo-Indians, who are half Indian and half British. And the total number of members of Rajya Sabha are 238 plus 12 nominated members. So total member of Lok Sabha is 545 and total members of Rajya Sabha is 250. So some basic points of the parliament and the two houses are: our constitution does give the Rajya Sabha some special powers over the states, but in most matters the Lok Sabha exercises the supreme power. So basically Rajya Sabha is on state level, Lok Sabha is on national level. An ordinary law requires to be passed by both the houses, that is Rajya Sabha and the Lok Sabha. But if there is a difference between the houses, that is one decides to pass the bill, another decides to not to pass the bill, then the final decision is taken in joint session in which the members of both the houses sit together. Because of the larger number of members, the view of Lok Sabha is likely to prevail in such a meeting because As we discussed, see, Lok Sabha has how many members? Lok Sabha has 545 members and Rajya Sabha is 250 members. So obviously there will be majority in Lok Sabha. Lok Sabha exercises more powers in monetary matters. Once the Lok Sabha passes the budget of the government, the Rajya Sabha cannot reject it. Okay, because Lok Sabha holds a higher stake than Rajya Sabha. The Rajya Sabha can only delay it by 14 days or suggest changes, but they cannot reject the decision taken once by the Lok Sabha. The Lok Sabha may or may not accept these changes because they are the supreme power. Most importantly, the Lok Sabha controls the Council of Ministers. Only a person who enjoys the support of majority of members in Lok Sabha is appointed as the Prime Minister. So basically, the method of choosing Prime Minister is basically done by the majority of Lok Sabha members. If the majority of Lok Sabha members say that they have no confidence in Council of Ministers, all the ministers, including the Prime Minister, must quit. The Rajya Sabha does not have this type of supreme authority of power. So next comes the executive. So at different levels of government, we find functionaries who take day-to-day decisions and also the basic to higher level of decisions, which is for the prosperity, or we can say importance and greater will of the nation and the people. All those functionaries are collectively known as executive. So executives are basically the people of government working at different level, all accumulated together on the basis of their supreme power and the basis of power they exercise on people. Next comes the types of executives. So executives are of two types. One, first the political executives, and second are the permanent executives. So political executives are those who are elected by the people for a specific time period. Example, the political leaders. That is, after the elections, the political leaders change. Hence, the executives are known as political executives. Second are the permanent executives. People who are appointed on a longer term basis. They are known as permanent executives, like civil services, like people who undergo UPSC exam and clear the post of IAS, IPS, etc. These are known as civil services. So they are known as a permanent executive. Okay, persons working in civil service are also known as civil servants, and they are the majority chunk of the permanent executives that fall under the category of executives. In a democracy, the will of people is supreme. The minister is elected by the people, and thus he has the power to exercise on the behalf of people and take decisions for the sake of people of the nation. So that's for the first part of this chapter. I hope you understood. We will show the next, all the important topics will be shared in the next presentation of this chapter. Thank you.